Well, while I'm out here fishing and catching fish, I might add, let's revisit on Nichols' retirement empire. Now, I told you guys some of those nightmares from the 70s. I hate to bring that up. I'm out here, I'm having a good time. But just to be honest with you, you never really get away from what we went through as children growing up in the 70s. I told you about, and again, this is for my kids. This is just for the future, because I don't want this to be erased. I don't want this to be something that people forget that happened to us. Because it was real. It was real. Because I got to get it all out. And I'm not finished with the telephone. There's more to be said. And I know, if you're a young person and you heard that last video and you heard things that I said about the phone, you probably thought that's horrifying. But that wasn't all. There was more having to do with the telephone. Redfish number one. Good start for the day. Good start. Number two. Number three. Looking good so far. Had to stop viewing to catch another fish. But probably the best description that I have heard so far, one of my viewers, Planet Mojo's daughter, described it as unimaginable savagery. And I guess, that's probably pretty accurate with what we lived through, but let's just go over a couple more things about the phone. And again, these are going to seem so foreign to some of you young people. When you left, remember where I told you the phone was? Plugged into the wall? Well, that's where it stayed at all times. And when you left your house, your phone stayed plugged into your wall. Your telephone did not go with you. Number four, there was no possible way devised where you could talk in your car. You had to actually talk to the person that was in the car with you, or you didn't talk to anybody. Just drove the car. And I know what you're thinking. Well, what if there was an emergency? I got to have my phone, in case something happens, I can dial, 911. Well, first of all, there wasn't a 911. If something happened to you, you call the police station. So you'd have to know the number. Or you call the fire station. My house is on fire. Come put my house out. Or you could call the operator, and the operator would connect you with the police department, and then you could tell them that, somebody was robbing you. You could just kind of hope the police drove by while something was happening to you. We did have public telephones. Like, if you've ever watched Superman, he would change in a phone booth where there was a little booth, and it would have a public telephone in the booth. and you would go in there and you'd have to have change, and you'd put your change in the slot, and you would pick up the public telephone earpiece, and you would hold it to your ear and your mouth. So that public telephone that thousands and thousands of people have probably used and breathed all over and touched and may have even licked at some point, I don't know, or got it, at least touched their lips with it, or their ears, or what, their head. It was touching you, and you didn't think. Nobody even gave it a second thought, man. We just picked that thing right up, stuck it right into our lips and into our ears, and we just talked away, totally ignorant and happy. The telephones that you have now, you video with them, you got all this freedom to walk around and walk over here and walk over there and do anything you want to do and turn around in circles and all that. If you did that with your telephone back then that had the cord attached to it, if you turned around 2 or 3 times and changed ear to ear a few times and stuff like that, and moved around a little bit in the floor or on the couch or whatever while you were talking on the phone, you might find yourself with that phone cord wrapped totally around your neck 2 or 3 times, where you had, changed from here and changed it over to this ear and then changed it back over to that ear and done all that. Next thing you know, you're choking yourself. Then when I went to college, I thought it was bad when I was at home. And I thought I didn't have privacy, and I thought, it was just uncool that I couldn't have my own phone. But when you got to college and you lived in an apartment with 6 or 7 guys, the phone, there was one phone. Everybody just sat there and listened to everybody talk on the phone. It's just totally public, no shame whatsoever. Whatever phone call anybody got, everybody sat there and listened. It was a nightmare. And they usually would try to get involved in your conversation, even though you were trying to have a private conversation. They felt like, they needed to tell you things to say, or, ask questions about what, why, and what was, it was horrible. When you went to school, now this is really going to sound insane, but it's true. When you went to school and you were at school for 8 hours, that was 8 hours you would go without a phone call or without using the phone, without communicating with a device in any way. The only device we communicated with was our mouth, or if you decided to write somebody a note. But that was just 8 hours of no phone calls. And then the time that you drove back home from school, that was more time with no phone call. And then the time that you were at, baseball practice or whatever, that was more time with no phone call. And then, you spent the vast majority of your day without even the ability to make or take a telephone call. That's the vast majority of your day. Think on that. You're at the movies, no phone call. At the mall, no phone call. Out fishing, no phone call. Most of your time was spent, you were just out there, you were in the wilderness. You were on your own. The only help you had was that public payphone. Or you could stop at somebody's house and ask to use their phone. Now that sounds crazy now, but there were times when, like, if your car broke down or something, you would go to somebody's house and knock on the door and say, "Can I use your phone? My car broke down." And they would probably say, "Yeah, come on in, I'll let you use the phone." What happened? They just let you in their house to use the telephone. Number 5, big old trout.